questions about the group coaching program. So the Phoenix group coaching program is launching tomorrow, and it's the last day to sign up. So we're doing a Q&A just to go over the really commonly asked questions that people have before starting the course, and also during the course. So one question that a lot of people have is about the labs, because a lot of people think that they need to do the labs before actually starting the program. And it is great if people can, start off the program with their labs already done, because in that way they can have a more targeted approach, and they really know what they need to do in terms of autoimmunity, in terms of nutrient deficiencies, etc. But don't let that be a hindrance for you starting the group coaching program, because there actually have quite a few people who've gone through the whole program without doing any labs, even without taking any supplements, actually, with only doing diet and lifestyle changes. So things like fasting, grounding, cold exposure, breath work. And some of those people who've been really dedicated to diet and lifestyle changes have actually seen the most improvements. So yeah, definitely don't let that be a deterrent in terms of getting all the labs done. Another question that we get in terms of the labs is, how do I know which ones to do? And this will depend a lot on your budget, because of course there are so many different labs you can do, especially if you take into account the functional medicine labs. So things like the GI stool map, things like the microclotting test. You can do mycotoxin for mold. You can do heavy metal toxicity. You can do hair mineral analysis. You can do hormones. There's just so much that's possible. So, what we always recommend is for people to start with just the basic labs. And the basic labs cover nutritional profile, nutritional deficiencies, things like the ANA profile, which would indicate any kind of autoimmunity. Some people have some autoimmune issues, even if they didn't necessarily have a prior autoimmune disease. And then also some level of microclotting is covered in our basic labs. So that's something that we recommend people to begin with. And then, after that, then there's a chance to do more in-depth labs, such as the GI stool lab or those other functional medicine labs that I spoke of. But the reason why we don't necessarily recommend those at the very beginning is because, especially when it comes to things like a GI stool map and microbiome disruption, as many of you know, is kind of a driving factor of long COVID, and many people experience it when they have long COVID. However, many people actually have not great mealtime hygiene practices. Maybe they're eating foods that are irritating their gut every day. Maybe they're constantly snacking and they're not doing, proper spaces between meals. There are so many different things that we can do to address gut health before we, do something really expensive like a GI stool map. And many people find by just, doing intermittent fasting, avoiding drinking water while eating, eliminating triggering food groups, including things that help to restore the gut, the gut balance. All of these kind of very simple things that we can start doing immediately actually improve their gut health, to the point where they don't feel the need to take a GI stool map. But of course, if you've been working on all this for several months and you still have issues, then it makes sense to kind of think about expanding into these more functional medicine labs. So another really common question is, will I work with the medical team alongside group coaching? And again, this depends. Well, first of all, everyone can sign up with Push Health and make a free account on Push Health. and start speaking with someone on the medical team. But you will have a more close kind of working relationship with them if you decide to order labs, and then obviously have them reviewed by the medical team. And that's something that a lot of people do, and then that's quite helpful, and it can run in parallel with the group coaching, and we can kind of cross-reference each other, and you might have a certain result and the medical, and then you too that we can discuss it in more detail. So that's something that a lot of people do. So will the feedback in the group be individualized? So even though the program is a set program that everyone goes through, there is a sense of individualization, because everyone gets a chance to ask their own questions and update on their progress for that week. And then I send a follow-up email as a group, but everyone in the group can reply to me and have also an individual thread between me and them where we discuss their specific issues, and in that sense it can be bio-individualized, and I can also give advice to other practitioners that you might need to work with, or specific labs that you might want to ask the medical team to do. Okay, supplements. So many people say, what do I do if I can't afford all the supplements on the supplement list? So this is something really common because there's so many supplements on the list, and you think, which ones do I take and what shall I prioritize? And again, the group coaching can help you decide that those to answer those questions, with the help of the medical team. Obviously, if you do testing, then that gives us an indication as to what you need in terms of supplementation. But also, if you don't kind of testing, the symptoms that you have will indicate, which kind of supplements you might need, and also your health history. So, of course, there are some things that can be contraindicated, supplements that trigger histamine issues, some supplements that are contraindicated for people with autoimmunity, especially things like soy-based supplements. So, the process of kind of untangling and understanding which ones you can prioritize, and then also which ones you can just get with food, because there are some really simple, like, for example, selenium, you just have a couple of Brazil nuts and that's your dose of selenium for the day. So there's no need to really buy an extra supplement for that. And there are a lot of ways in which we can really try to get all of the nutrients from food. And this is really beneficial because it avoids, usually it's more economical, but it also avoids this thing of always having to consume supplements, which often contain additives, fillers, anti-caking agents, the cellulose capsule, anything that you see like magnesium stearate or silicon dioxide, all of these things that are added to kind of preserve and stop the supplement from caking together. All of those things can kind of irritate the gut if you're just taking 10, 15, 20 supplements a day. And this is actually one reason why some people have a reaction to the supplement protocol. It's not necessarily because of the supplements themselves, but it can just be the result of having to take so many capsules and so many pills. And this is why it's really good to try to work with us to just reduce the number of supplements and try to get those from whole foods. And we try to support everyone in finding recipes that they might like, in sharing resources where you can actually calculate the macro nutrients of food so that you can figure out what you're getting, or even different apps. Like in the last live I talked about the D-Minder app that lets you know how much vitamin D was absorbed from the sun depending on where you are in the world. So there are a lot of ways to kind of try to optimize that. Yeah, and also just small hacks when it comes to supplements, like so quite a few of the clients that we've worked with in the group coaching have had a lot of benefits by switching magnesium citrate to magnesium threonate. And magnesium threonate is one of the magnesiums that crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it really helps with sleep and it helps with cognition. And many people who've said, oh, magnesium hasn't helped me at all, they've been taking citrate or malate or another type of magnesium that could be gut irritating and is not as bioavailable, especially on the blood-brain barrier side of things. So just these kind of small nuanced hacks when it comes to supplementation can be quite useful for people. And that's something that we cover in the during the supplementation module of the group coaching. So common questions that I get in every group are things like asking about plant-based, being plant-based in terms of plant-based proteins, and also just being vegan or being vegetarian. There's some kind of hesitancy to introduce animal products among many people. So this is kind of something that we go over from every aspect. So one is, of course, why animal proteins are more bioavailable, why they're more nutrient dense, they're a complete protein, they don't have phytates, lectins, anti-nutrients, all of the kind of things that plants have that actually block the bioavailability of nutrients. They don't have that. They're also a complete protein, unlike most plant proteins. And then we also talk about it from the side of ethics, and maybe helping people understand that it's not actually that much more ethical to avoid animal products, because the main focus of the ethical debate is around industrialized animal products. And we know that industrialization is something that is bad both for plants and for animals. So, industrial plant farming with pesticides, herbicides, monocropping, all of these type of things are also really terrible for the environment. And if you, support your local farmer and you buy grass-fed, raised animals, that process of raising the animals on the land in this sustainable way is actually good for the environment and good for the land, and it's overall nourishing for the land, for the farmers that work with these animals, and also us eating them. They're more nutrient dense. The ratio of omega-3 to 6 is more balanced than industrialized animals. So there are misconceptions around the plant-based rhetoric. And another thing is that plant-based proteins are often with heavy metal toxicity, and that's quite a big issue with people who just really rely on plant-based proteins for their protein. You really have to make sure that you have a supplement that's been third-party tested. So another really common thing that people struggle with is heartburn and acid reflux. And again, there's this misunderstanding that acid reflux is caused by too much stomach acid. And often it's actually the opposite of the case. And it's the case that too little stomach acid causes heartburn, because the stomach is struggling to digest, and the little acid that is in the stomach is making its way up into the esophagus and burning. So there's a lot of work that we do in terms of suggesting different herbs and supplements like slippery elm or marshmallow root that help to soothe the gut lining, and then actually working to increase the stomach acid via things like supplementing apple cider vinegar, or even supplementing HCl itself can help to reduce heartburn. So this is a really common thing that comes up and often surprises people who've been on acid reflux medication or PPIs for a long time. Water is also another really common subject that comes up. So a lot of people are actually drinking distilled water, which is not great, because it's basically devoid of all minerals, which means that it actually leaches minerals from the body. No water in that would naturally occur on the earth in a lake or river or stream would be mineral empty, as distilled water is. That doesn't really exist on earth. All the water runs over rocks and through plant material and things, and it collects minerals on the way. So if we drink totally distilled water, it actually, through the process of osmosis, sucks minerals from the body, and it can deplete you of minerals. So, one important part of the course is just trying to figure out what kind of toxins are present in your water using resources like the Environmental Working Group database, and then figuring out what the best filter option is, whether it's reverse osmosis, whether it's finding a spring that's close to your house, a carbon filter. There are many different options that don't totally suck all the minerals out of the water. And this is something that often. So next question is about, there's the nervous system. So nervous system dysregulation or dysautonomia is actually a really common driving mechanism of long COVID. It is often the cause of things like loss in smell and taste, tinnitus, brain fog. And it's kind of a difficult one because there's no specific test for dysautonomia. But there are different ways in which you can kind of gauge your nervous system state through things like heart rate variability monitoring. And this is something that many people have also found useful in the group, and also surprised by, because many people don't know that the more variable your heart rate is, the more relaxed or in a parasympathetic state, which is the state that we more want to be in, your body is. So yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised by that, and have a lot of interesting discoveries in the process of actually measuring heart rate and finding out that when I'm in this environment or with these people, or I might more or less heart rate variability, and then that can give an indication of kind of the underlying nervous system state that you might not have previously even been conscious of. Because many times our nervous system state is something that we are disconnected from, and it becomes having this very data to pinpoint where our nervous system is at different points can help us kind of be more conscious and make this bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, and bring that to the front, and then understand, okay, these are the moments I'm stressed or not stressed. So autoimmunity, this is something really common. A lot of people have, come to the program with an autoimmune condition, and in this case, we offer autoimmune paleo protocol, which is very similar to the paleo diet. It's just a lot more, and it involves, eliminating nuts and seeds and legumes, which are, and dairy, so just slightly more restricted than paleo. And we go through in detail about how to do this elimination diet, which food group to eliminate in which week, and how long to stay on it for, and then how to reintroduce the foods, and what kind of reactions that we need to look for, in terms of, sometimes reactions are instant on the day, and sometimes things like joint pain, insomnia, they maybe take longer to show up. And actually, this is a good point for cross categories of elimination diets. AIP is just one elimination diet, but elimination diets are a great way to find out. They're actually really the gold standard for finding out how your body is reacting to certain foods. Even more accurate, I would say, than doing a test, because tests can be inaccurate depending on of food tests, different types of labs also use techniques for measuring if an isn't or not. So yeah, just covering elimination diets in general and how to do them and what kind of reactions to look out for is quite useful. So, oh, okay, there's a question about, is Greek yogurt good for long haulers? Yogurt, of course, everyone has probiotics, is good for gut health. I would say that the main kind of things to think about in the case of yogurt are, is it grass-fed and organic? Because that will change the ratio of the fatty acid ratio, and also it will affect if there are any hormones or antibiotics present in milk. Is, of course, if you have lactose intolerance, that yogurt and dairy should be something to avoid. But lactose intolerance is more than people think, not so black and white. It really depends on which of your parents had the gene that would select for lactose persistence, and if maybe one of your parents had them, or then your capacity to digest lactose could be reduced. So maybe you could tolerate hard cheeses but not milk. Maybe you could tolerate Greek yogurt but not something like kefir, or there are many different kind of stages of lactose intolerance, and also poor gut health can affect your lactose tolerance. So what many people find is that once they actually start working on their gut health, they're able to tolerate what they used to be. So they might have previously thought that they had lactose intolerance, but actually what the problem was their gut health. And once that improved, they are actually able to tolerate dairy. And since dairy is, a great source of not only probiotics but many different nutrients, and protein. It's a nutrient dense food, really, if you can get it from a good source, and especially if you can get it raw. I mean, that's really the optimal thing if you have a good farmer where you can get raw dairy, because then you can really increase the level of enzymes and probiotics present. So those are really the things to consider when it comes to lactose. Okay, I think that is it when it comes to questions. Yeah, so this is a short live, just, and okay, there is, what's the best day to track heart rate variability? Anything that doesn't use a smartwatch or similar. So there are a few devices. There's one called Loop, and it's a watch that you wear all the time, actually. But if you're looking for something that, you don't want to wear all the time, there is this chest strap called Polar. It's one of those chest straps that people who do triathlons and things wear, and you can wear it on your chest during the day for a few hours, just to see your heart rate variability. Although the most useful thing really for heart rate variability is tracking it all the time, because that is the idea, that we really want to see how is your heart rate variability during rest, during exercise, during sleep, during different social situations. We kind of want to understand over time, 24/7, what is your pattern, because there's no kind of normal or standard heart rate variability that we just want to aim for. It's more to understand within your realm of normal what would indicate a stressed or relaxed state, and that might be different for everyone. And that really relates to, I mean, the variability is the most important thing, in terms of, is your heartbeat metronomic, or is there kind of a more varied space between each heartbeat? That's what we're looking out for. But in terms of what those specific numbers are, it's really individualized, and that's why wearing it all the time will give you more data. But the Polar chest strap is a good option if you just want to use it for a couple of hours. Okay, another question: is coconut-based yogurt okay? Yeah. So when it comes, so I would say that having dairy is good, with those caveats that I said. If you're not lactose intolerant, if you can find a high quality dairy that's grass-fed, pasture-raised, organic, preferably raw, then it's good. But if you cannot, hit those markers, and you have lactose intolerance, then plant-based yogurt is good. I would say coconut. I think there is some kind of almond or soy, or I mean, soy is definitely not good, but there are some almond-based yogurts. But the issue with those other plant-based yogurts is that they're not very fatty, and fat is what makes yogurt creamy. So for example, coconut is a very high fat food. It has a lot of saturated fat, and that's what makes it really kind of creamy, and then that's what makes good yogurt and good ice cream, for example. And with almond, there's less fat, which means they usually need to add thickeners and emulsifiers and these other things, which are not great. So in terms of plant-based dairy, coconut is a good one. But again, ideally, you want to look out for one that's just contains coconut and the live cultures, whatever live cultures they use to ferment it. You want to try and avoid ones that have these thickeners and additives and fillers to try to, make it more creamy, because those are irritating on the gut. Okay, I think that is it for questions. So if you would like to join the group coaching, we have one tomorrow. So today is actually the last day to sign up for the group coaching that begins tomorrow. The first call will be at midday EST time on Friday. And that will be the weekly call. Every week we're going to have a call on Friday. So if you'd like to find out more, or if you'd like to sign up, you can scan this QR code, sorry, in the link. And you can also feel free to reach out to me via email at michelle@mygotodoc.com. So that's michelle@mygotodoc.com. You can also email me any questions or any details you'd like to know group that works. So thank you very much for listening. I have some of your questions were answered, and I also hope to see some in the group. Thank you. Bye-bye.